What's happening, people? Welcome back to the channel, and today I bring you 2023's S1000RR. But before we get started on showing you around the bike and talking about the bike and even getting on the road, I should give a big thank you to Lind BMW in Norwich for loaning me this for the weekend. I'm a very lucky guy to be able to take bikes of this caliber out and about, and also to be trusted with them. So thank you very much, guys. So this year's updated model of the S1000RR, it now comes in at 205 horsepower with 113 newton meters of torque, which is absolutely plenty, face melting amount for anybody, even on the road, but especially where you can get to use it to its full potential out on the track. Speaking of the track potential, this year's model actually comes with two different elements of sliding control, one being the DCT traction control, where if you get it loose from a bit too much pin on the throttle, it will slide it out and it will control it for you. And also on the rear brake, if you anchor it down, it will come out with a slide and pull it right back for you. How good it'll actually be on the road, I don't know. Anybody who is ballsy and daring enough to try it, hey, hats off to you. I certainly am not. But before we get out on the road, what I'll do, I'll give you a quick walk around of the bike, show you all the features and amenities, and yeah, then we'll get out on the road and test it for sure. Alrighty then, guys, so I'll give you a quick walk around of the bike. This is the 2023 S1000RR, and my god, is it beautiful in that red. It also comes in two other colours. You have it in black and you also have it in the M Sport colours, white, which they look absolutely phenomenal. But elephant in the room, as you will well be aware, it comes with these wings. Now at first I did wonder if they'd be a little bit of an eyesore, and people are still sort of saying whether or not they're actually useful and this and the other. But I'll leave that to the experts to decide. Now they reckon it obviously improves downforce, keeps the front wheel down when you're trying to get those lap timers. So I'm not going to argue them. What do I know? So what we'll do, we'll start from the front, work our way back, then we'll start it up and see that beautiful TFT dash in all its glory. So from the start, we do have BMW dual disc calipers, plenty of stopping power on there. Believe me, I've given them a good little test and they're fantastic. Also, this bike does come track ready, and when I say track ready, what we mean by that is the brake guard. Moving on, we now have the new and improved shift cam engine, and what essentially shift cam means is it's variable valve timing, so plenty of oomph down low, plenty of oomph up top. What more could you need for the track, really? And plenty for the road as well to keep you happy down in the lower rev range. We have the agriprovic can, and it's got plenty of baffling in it, so at least then when you want to get out on the track, nobody scrutinises you until you can't go on because it's too loud. But also when you're out on the road, giving it the beans, it does have some beautiful tones to it as well. But then again, I'm sure any of you sport bike enthusiasts will end up changing that out eventually. As far as I can see, it comes with Bridgestone S22s, plenty of sticking and stopping power. They do the job just fine. Now moving around to the other side, you have the quick shifter, which is up and down auto blipper. Now if we head on to the controls, not much has changed from any other BMW really. You got your DCC controls, so that obviously controls the level of traction control you have. You got your menu switch, which helps you flick through the beautiful TFT, which I'll show you in a second. You also have your whiz wheel, which helps you navigate through it all. Cruise control, flick that on, now up and down, and then that holds your speed for you nicely. You got your modes, so rain, road, dynamic, and I don't know if this one has Dynamic Pro, but we'll check out in a second. This also has the heated grips, so if you plan on being out on the road, especially in the colder months, you can whack that on and feel nice and toasty. So let's have a quick look at this TFT. Check this start up. It is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. And like I said to you about using the menu controls, so that obviously shows you your fuel, total miles on there, and your trips. Plenty of little statistics and things for you to flick through, but what's more so interesting is if you press the menu switch down and you just flick across with your whiz wheel, you have your My Vehicle page, which shows you all around the bike, shows you, your fuel, shows you your battery voltage and things like that. And also if we flick back onto the menu screen, you've got here your sport mode, so press that down, and then what it'll show you here is your rev range and your miles per hour up the top. Your brake, so it shows you how much stopping power you're putting into it, your DTC, and also you have your lean angle, so left and right, and it will show you, it will record what your last lean angle was and the furthest you've been over. Pretty cool. Now don't get me wrong, this bike is way above my capabilities of understanding all the gadgets and gizmos and things, but let's get on the road and I'll show you what it's actually like to ride the thing. So thanks for joining me on the ride, and we can really see what it's like to own one on the road. Now I've rode it a couple of times now, just put a few miles on it just to figure it out before I demonstrate to you guys what I really think about it. And so far so good, I'm quite impressed. Now I did previously record a video on it, but unfortunately the quality didn't come out as nice as I'd hoped. I mean, it's probably down to poor choice of roads to take it on. I did take it onto dual carriageway for a bit, and while I was sort of explaining bits and pieces about it, it was just way too windy. So I didn't really think that you would appreciate hearing a load of so I scrapped that one and decided to borrow it again and take it for another spin. But I can think of worse reasons to be able to ride these bikes again, so here we are. Anyway, so what's it like really from a first impressions point of view on the road from your everyman's perspective? Now first things first, what I will say about it in all honesty, it's too much for the road if you expect to be using all of it anyway. But on the other hand, if you're in love with it because of it being what it is, which is an S1000RR, it's a sport bike, it has all the power and everything you could possibly need, and you appreciate it for what it truly is, which it is a race bike, then hey, who am I to judge? No problem at all. I'd love one just sat in my garage just to have as a toy, but it's just not my envisionment of a daily bike. Mostly because of the position, but also I'd never truly be able to use its capabilities unless I took it onto the track and got to know it for a good length of time. But you can't argue that this isn't a phenomenal machine. So first things first really, if you're thinking about one, head down to your local BMW dealership, preferably Lind Motorcycles in Norwich, or any of the other Motorrads in the group, and give it a try and tell me, and just see what you think for yourself. You won't be disappointed. But what I think of it is you can definitely feel it's quite a new age motorcycle, and what I mean by that is there is a lot of creature comforts and comfort blankets to sort of aid you and make you feel more comfortable, and it just doesn't quite feel like the bikes of old. And especially given that it has got 205 horsepower and 113 Nm torque, that is an absolute monstrous amount, considering back in the early 2000s, you know, with the fire blades and Gixxers and Lord knows what else. Sorry if anybody's cringing at me calling it a Gixxer, but I just can't get out of the habit of it. But if you remember those bikes, the thought of having a 200 horsepower machine was just absolutely absurd. Already, like any other sport bike, you are, you know, bent up in a different position than I'm sure you'd actually like to be. Now, it makes you feel like a bit of a contortionist. You know, you're laying flat, your legs are back, your knees are up right into your chest. And obviously the place that's going to make the most sense is on the racetrack, but it's not the most uncomfortable sport bike I've ever ridden. I think it just takes a little while for your body to readapt to this position if you're so used to things being a bit more upright and comfortable. Now hopefully that's slowed that wind noise down a little bit more just so you can hear me better, so apologies for that. Anyway, back on topic really, 205 horsepower is I don't know, that's quite a lot, but you can feel that it's very well managed considering that is what the figure is. It doesn't feel like a 205 horsepower machine. I mean, I'm just sitting here cruising at 40 and it doesn't feel like it just wants to leap out of my hand or anything like that. It's just very linear, which is a good thing, but it might be to somebody who sort of misses the bit of the thrills of a motorcycle with a bit more grunt to it, a bit more growl, because this just doesn't seem to have that. And the way I describe it, and I describe the S1000R the same way, in that it is quite clinical, very clean to get up to those speeds. Now I'm sure if you're trying to listen for a decent soundtrack on this bike, you might be a little disappointed, because it's not really giving it to you without obviously sticking an aftermarket pipe on. And like I was saying about the bikes of old, is they certainly had a bit more to them, a bit more grunt. It's funny, isn't it? You get so used to a particular style of machine like my GS that there's so much wind protection. Now when I come out and do a video on motorcycles like this where they're a little bit less shielded, you do forget about all those nice comforts that you usually have, and then you really start to appreciate them more. Don't get me wrong, these bikes are fun, and I think that, I mean, this time of year it's not too bad to be riding around on one, but realistically the summer is going to be where you're going to have the most fun. Could you use it all year round? Definitely. The electronics allow that, slips and slides and that sort of thing. It is a very stable machine in that sense, and because obviously you've got the heated grips, it's almost like it's encouraging for you to be out and about, even in the colder sort of months. Granted, I don't think I want to be riding around on this in the snow and ice. You're going to try to find some nice back roads to take you down, and anybody who watches my previous videos will recognise this route that I usually take. Depending on what sort of machine I'm out and about on is what sort of routes I pick, but this one is generally for like my smaller framed machines. Certainly not in any power though. This is not a small machine in power form whatsoever. But for any of my newer riders who are wondering if this motorcycle is easy to ride and is it too much of a machine to handle, well, do you need experience? Maybe. Hang on, I've just got to give it the beans a bit. So I know I say there isn't much of a soundtrack, but there is if you're giving it a big one. But before you know it anyway, you're up to legal speed, so you can't really hear what you actually want to do, which is right up here in the rev range where it's screaming its nuts off at you. Not if you want to stay on the legal side, that's for sure. So just to clarify, I do not condone hooligan behaviour whatsoever. Oh, that auto blipper down though, that is absolutely flawless. I'll give it that. So handling wise, what's it like? It's an absolute peach. It flicks in and out just where you want it to be. It's dialed in just like a steaming missile. Now the brakes are on point, they certainly slow you down where you need to, and the computer's obviously controlling that suspension wonderfully, so that does help you to really get a good control over the machine. But there is obviously the option to turn off DTC control and ABS, so you can allow it to spin up freely as you would. And you know, I can't lie, I have felt the rear end start to slide away from me a little, and the electronics do cope with it very, very well. But this machine does bring out that inner hooligan in you. It's absolutely stupendous. Quality piece of gear. Sorry about that guys, quick camera change. Just wanted to try and capture it from some different angles. I thought you guys might appreciate it too. It's just epic, but for the road it is completely unnecessary, and that's okay. We don't mind it being unnecessary because it's a cool bike to have. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be in a disillusion in thinking that people won't just go out and be hooligans on these things, because they definitely will. Not that I condone it, and I can't help but like seeing people enjoy a bike. Now don't get me wrong, the thought of shelling out between 16 to 20 grand for a sport bike that you don't really know if you're going to wreck it or not, you know, you've got to have nice deep pockets for that to be able to have the thought of laying it down at a track. But in the same breath, you could argue that BMW's technology only allows you to improve your abilities on the track even more so. I know I'm saying earlier that the soundtrack's not that great. It's not that bad for a stock bike, given that it is condemned by the Euro 5 emissions. Yeah, I think it's quite acceptable. It does make you wonder what it would actually sound like with some impressive pipe on it. I mean, you can already tell that it's a bit of a monster. That in the right hands, it would be pretty crazy. But there is no doubt about it, it is a license loser. And it's funny, I chat to some of my customers about, you know, oh, would you ever own one of these? Is it something that interests you? And the majority of the response I get is, nope, I don't trust myself for one of them, because it's encouraging to get you to spend time up that rev range. And their fear of losing their license is the one thing that keeps them from doing silly things, which, you know, I can appreciate that. I really can. Very understandable. But then what that does tell you about this machine is that its place is not made for the road, it is made for the track, where you can really give it the beans, pin it, and just go nuts with the thing, rather than annoying the plod. What we got here? Do like me a Harley. Oops, didn't say that. So yeah, epic machine. I would definitely say it's worth the money in the right hands. Not in my hands. I certainly think as a toy I would love one, but yeah, I think as you get a bit older as well, like, your body's just not best suited for this sort of position daily. I think when you're younger, a lot more bendy, a lot more flexible, or if you're quite in good shape as you get older, maybe it should be okay, but realistically, not as a daily ride. But for a track weapon, or a good Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon blast, summer toy, yeah, awesome. It definitely has that place for it, so it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Alright guys, anyway, if you enjoyed what you're seeing on this short first impressions video, then, you know, let me know in the comment section if you think there's anything I've missed. You know, sometimes when I'm out and about doing my rides, you know, you do tend to forget some of the main stats and statistics. You know, I'm not really nerdy in that way as such. I do enjoy a good converse about it, but when you're sort of talking to yourself, you know, it's the numbers thing, you know, trying to remember all them. So do bear with me with these videos. I'm not really a fully fledged bike journalist, a reviewer and whatnot, but I certainly do enjoy giving you guys the perspective of what it's actually like as an everyman. Alright guys, anyway, If you can do me a favour, hit that like and subscribe, man. It really does help. Helps keep the channel flow going. I know I've been a bit absent. I've just been getting really stuck into my work, just trying to make sure I secure my role there at BMW Lind in Norwich, who have been absolutely amazing with me. They've been very welcoming and allowing me to progress with my channel, as well as hopefully soon enough pushing some things for Lind as well. So that would be excellent. So be patient, bear with me, and especially as summer starts to creep around, we will get more content out. You know, as the same with anybody else, I'm sure during the winter you sort of hibernate a little bit. Don't get wrong, there are people out there who are hard as nails with the winter riding, so hats off to you. That did used to be me, but I'm just not as much of a daily winter rider as I used to be. Alright, my dudes. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace out.